The seminar is about the ways that gender shapes science and especially physics. When I started working on my dissertation on the role of gender in radioactivity research, I took an interview from a physicist, and he was remembering his time in Mexico working with Marietta Blau, one of the most important women in radioactivity research in Vienna. He described how Marietta Blau was dressed. So she was totally dressed in black, and I was thinking then it's irrelevant to the interview. Looking back to this, I realized how important it is, the way that we dress, the way we actually present ourselves in physics settings, in settings where we work and do our research in physics. Why? Because clothes can make us visible or invisible. I think that Marietta Blau was trying to make herself invisible in the community that was dominated by males.
And why aren't you in uniform?
What is the role of fashion in physics? We all have our experiences and we all have our expectations. We all want to fit in and wear what is appropriate. But what exactly does appropriate mean? We thought it best to ask those who should know best, our professors.
My name is Maria Chechova, and my main position is at the Max Planck Institute for the Science of Light. I have also a side position at the University, FAU. There I'm professor of optics.
Christina Giesel. I'm a professor at Theoretical 3 in Erlangen, and we are working on quantum gravity.
My name is Claudio Kopper. I am lead DM chair for experimental astroparticle physics.
Anna Nellis, I'm a professor of astroparticle physics.
Mein Name ist Sasaki. I'm a professor for multi-wavelength astronomy.
My name is Kai Philipp Schmidt. I'm the chair of Theoretical Physics 5, which focus on research at the interface of solid-state physics and quantum optics.
I'm Jörn Wilms. I'm an astrophysicist. I was promoted to the chair of astronomy and astrophysics.
I hope everybody can wear what they would like to wear and are not judged by this.
That I don't know. I don't think it's my place to tell people what an appropriate dress is. And I think that's a very personal choice.
It should be just convenient. You know, I'm also responsible for laser safety in our institute, and I keep saying that it's not good to wear shiny things because they can reflect laser light. Yeah, from this viewpoint, of course, there are things that are inconvenient or dangerous, but this is minor.
The first answer that we received is there is no dress code in physics, but that still holds true if you dig a little deeper.
Right, as a professor, you are in this weird situation that the socialist team that you're held in because you have that title essentially also means that you are a little bit protected from these comments.
I think physics is quite mixed.
I have the feeling, that people don't judge you by your clothes in physics very much. I mean, so that's something I like, yeah.
As you know, there's still more men than women in physics, but otherwise I would say that the average colleague, independent of the gender, has similar style, I would say.
I don't think it's a difference between men and women, or I don't think it should be a difference between men and women.
We always had the saying amongst us saying, okay, in Aachen you can do either heels or earrings, but you cannot do both, they cannot handle it.
As it seems, there is no gender-based fashion in physics. The differences seem to be solely based on the personal preferences of each individual. So what is the role of fashion in physics then?
It doesn't matter much to myself, but that of course doesn't mean that it might not matter to others, right? So
I think it's also a way for some people to express their passion. I told you about, Jörn Wilms' collection of nerdy t-shirts.
Oh, people appreciate my t-shirts.
So yeah, I think physics is a place where you can be rather free, and also in terms of fashion.
I always try to do things in physics that not following crowds of people doing the same. Yeah, and fashion is more or less following others. So I think that fashion in science is not good. Not good.
In essence, the role of fashion in physics is said to be not important and or not discussed. The question is it not discussed because it is not important, or is it not important because it is not discussed?
Actually, it's the first time I'm asked such a question. I mean, it's not something you discuss in the context of physics or with your physics colleague. Yeah, it's something we discuss maybe in personal groups or among friends, but not really as a topic in physics, in group meetings or whatever, right?
When reflecting, one finds those two issues. For once, clothing has to be comfortable, while on the other hand, it must not give reason for judgment. So, what to wear?
I would say in the majority of events, when I go to the office, in lectures and so on, I just wear the stuff which I like, and I usually would also wear at home.
Yeah, I think something I feel comfortable with. So,
like the normal casual clothing that I would also wear in the office. I would wear jeans, I would also wear a formal trousers, I would wear also a dress, depending on what I feel like. Yeah, casual.
I'm losing the skill to actually walk in heels because I don't ever put them on anymore. In my professional context, that's nothing that's actually required. So
15 years ago, decided that deciding what to wear to university or in general was a big hassle. I decided to go for like a uniform. There's no specific reason. It was just, yeah, that's easiest.
To sum up, clothing has to be comfortable and is mostly casual. It can, however, be adapted to the occasion at hand. But has that changed over time?
Almost no change, I must say. Almost no change.
I don't think so.
For a very long time, from age 15 until about half a year ago, I always wore a vest. That was just my constant.
There was definitely a shift, but it's not because my taste changed, but maybe my age and my body feeling changed.
Okay, compared to when I studied, yes.
So there are slight changes over time due to personal and professional developments. But as we have heard, there are occasions where changes are actually made.
If I go to a conference, I might be a little more formal. Maybe I would wear kind of a suit jacket, but I actually prefer not this, like a little more colorful stuff, I would say, and not just a real like black suit dresses, but also that's because easier to change and to carry.
But of course, if you win a prize, you have an award ceremony, you give a speech in front of officials, then this is different and you have to adapt.
I think, I don't know if there are funding occasions, or something where you really have to apply. Sometimes people dress up a bit more, also in physics, I realize, but on conferences, I think it's still up to you.
Once you interact, say, with the higher ups, so I'm on a committee with DLR that advises one of the heads of DLR who's responsible for space research in Germany. There I'll usually wear more conservative clothing.
The only times when I wear something different is when there is something like maybe an awards ceremony or something that I go for like a button shirt and like, yeah.
Probably on evening receptions of like the Helmholtz Academy, where it's anyway a very festive environment, so everybody else is going to become suited up, so you do the same thing.
Interestingly, we have found that female professors rather than male professors switch up their way of dressing for occasions such as conferences, while both genders dress more formally for occasions that relate to finance and funding. Apart from those special occasions, how is their way of dressing perceived by their peers?
And you notice that in physics, I think it's hardly possible to be underdressed, but it's very easy to be overdressed.
In physics and especially in astronomy, people would rather be a little bit confused if you were to wear good clothing, or uncomfortable clothing.
I would never wear a suit, I guess.
How much do you emphasize that your looks should matter to how you interact with your surroundings?
You're there to present your science and the work you've done. You're not there to present you being all flamboyant and flashy. if you dress too nicely or you look too good, then it's sort of more is there any space in your brain left to do science? And that's slightly different, I think, in physics than in other subjects.
There seems to be no specific dress code in physics. However, it became clear that there is a very sensitive balance between the perception of the scientific competence and the way one dresses that can be connected to gender.
The appropriateness is sort of the making sure that actually your work shines rather than you.
When concluding, we found 2 layers on the topic of fashion in physics. At first, professors seem to be indifferent to fashion choices. There's a common theme that fashion should not play a role in physics. Fashion merely has some purpose to fulfill, from being practical to being comfortable. Both may be very different in theoretical or in experimental physics. Fashion could also be a way to express personal taste.
After digging deeper, a second layer emerged, where the role of fashion in physics became more complex. We found that there seems to be a separation between the clothing professors choose when they're with their in-group versus when they're with an external out-group. Hereby, in-groups describe what they perceive as their peers. That can be their research group or also the whole physics department, while out-groups are characterized by externals, such as representatives of funding agencies. What is interesting is that a gender bias became apparent when it comes to defining one's in and out groups. For female professors, the in-group tends to be a smaller circle than for male professors. It also results that for male professors, fashion and their scientific competence do not interfere, while we can observe an entanglement there for female professors. This leads to a delicate balance for female professors between their fashion choice and their perceived scientific competence in physics.
Physics would not work if we had clear expectations of what physicists should look like.
By the way, none of our conclusions seem to apply to the field of astrophysics. All of our professors claim that there are no rules to fashion in physics. Astrophysicists live by it.
And then if you go to astronomy, it becomes even wilder. So do you know the meme when Barbie and Oppenheimer came out? And there was a meme with physicists for Oppenheimer and astronomers for Barbie. Astronomers are even more creative and crazier.
So right now I'm wearing my I Love Black Hole t-shirt, for example. I also have t-shirts on radiation processes. I have neutron star t-shirts. I also have t-shirts related to kind of the interface between astronomy and the sci-fi community, say, and you'll find there is an overlap, say, especially in the astronomical community with, say, the cosplay community.